welcome to this episode of NRI Affairs Pause with Nandini. I think most Bengalis, even Probashi ones like me, know that if it's 2441139, it's Bela Bose. And this song is immortalized in the hearts and minds of Bengalis the world over, and it's a little testament to the love, the longevity, and the respect that my next guest has received. Please welcome Anjan Dutt to our show.
Hi.
Lovely to have you with us. Australia cannot wait because we are going to have Anjan Dutt and the Electric Band coming to Australia. They're doing Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Brisbane is going to be on the 2nd of March. And I'm sure it'll be a fantastic experience. It's been put together by Oikotan and Bengali Cine Club. You'll have your son Neil with you. You'll have Amit Datta, Devopratim and Prashanto. So I'm sure audiences can't wait. We'll take a step back. It's exactly a month since your 71st birthday. And for once, I was a bit stumped putting together an introduction for you, because there's just so much that you've done over the years, and you've built such a fan following that it's really hard to pin you down. So you're, of course, a singer-songwriter, you're an actor, you're a director. And what is quite interesting for me is that you started your early life in Darjeeling at St. Paul's. And I was at Loreto College, and I remember in Kolkata, and I remember a lot of the boys from St. Paul's used to come to Kolkata, and we used to see them outside college. So I wanted to start with a little bit of going back to the early days, early influences, and your time there.
Well, I was very young when I went there. I was, I think, about 6 years old, and it was slightly a different Darjeeling in the sense that there were much less population, and the school still more or less is the same. Only the Irish and the British have left, and during my time there were a lot of Irish students, a lot of British, some Thai, some Fiji, and generally it was a quite respectable school in terms of its popularity. So, and it had a direct connection at that point of time with rugby in England. And so there were a lot of foreigners staying. And because there was some legal issues in the sense that there was some property issues happening with my family. And there was a lot of court cases happening regarding the property, because it's an old house we live in, very big mansion. So there was division of property, blah, 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 between brothers. So generally, my parents wanted me to be there. Apart from the fact that they wanted me to go to a boarding school, they wanted me to be there. So our holidays were November, December, January, 3 months of winter, severe winter at that point of time. And February, the children again came back. The boys came back to the boys' school. But because of this issue, I was not brought back to Calcutta most of the years that I spent there. I spent almost 10 years there. So I used to come every alternative 3 years or something. So I had no connection with the city as such. And my Bengali was very weak. And there was a lot, as I said, there was so many international students. They also their parents didn't feel it necessary for them to go back every year, fly back and forth. So about 30 odd people from class 11 to 6 to 7 to 9 used to stay together. Maybe one Irish boy, maybe a Thai, maybe a Filipino, maybe myself. And that was the winter holidays for us. And there was 1 or 2 teachers hanging around, and we used to stay in the same dormitory. Then the school opened, and we went back to our respective classes and respective dormitories. Now, I said this is because I feel that my exposure to everything, uh, be it uh, goodness, naughtiness, be it music, be it whatever, happened not happened at a very early age. I mean, I hung around with 16
Hmm.
year 16-year-olds when I am, say, 9-year-old. So I grew up fast. I grew up
Yes, yes.
faster than a normal
Hmm.
child would grew up with class 2 boys, then class 3 boys, then class 4 boys.
What
And
about musical influences then? Did that have an impact at all?
yes, of course, because mm, not because I grew up in a public school. Generally, Darjeeling has a colonial history and heritage, it still has. And there was an influence of English
Hmm.
popular music, not English classical music. English classical music was taught to us when we were as in classes. We had musical appreciation for classes, and where we were forced, actually, or not forced, we were like
Yes.
we had to listen to Mozart and Beethoven and Bach. Not that I enjoyed it, I didn't understand it, but I was exposed to English popular music, essentially pop music, slightly later on rock and roll. But generally, that was the sound that I grew up in. That was the music
Hmm.
which was happening around me. There were a lot of people playing guitars. And so that English pop music has been a reference point in my life. I mean, I know it much more than any
Hmm.
other kind of music, very naturally. It came to me very naturally, and playing the guitar was also came to me very naturally. Not that I learned. My son Neil learned it. He's formally trained. I was not formally trained. I was never formally trained. And we sang, and music was definitely a very English pop music was an uh, important for me.
Hmm.
And because we had two cinema halls in Darjeeling which screened English movies, American and British movies regularly, and our school also had every Saturday they had a movie. So we had at that point of time a projector which showed films. And so I was exposed to the best of Hollywood at a very young age. And West English cinema or
Yes.
British cinema or American cinema also had a very strong impact in my life.
How about theater? Because I did read that you did a fair bit of theater as well. Did that start in school or was that later?
No, no, that started in school. I mean, I was inclined towards doing acting. I was
Hmm.
inclined to music, and there was a lot of extracurricular activities happening. I was more interested in creative arts than in sports because we had compulsory boxing and
Hmm.
soccer, cricket and riding and whatever, mountain climbing, gym classes, gymnasium. That was compulsory. But I was inclined towards creative arts.
Hmm.
So I did theater, and I was also part of the school choir. And I sang at a very early age. I was in treble, and then later on, when I grew up, they put me to soprano. So I have been singing also in the chapel
Hmm.
and also doing a lot of theater. Being a boys' school, uh, I was pretty, I was very thin and very lean and slightly, I was withdrawn. I was not an extrovert, but I was
Hmm.
withdrawn. So I was considered a little effeminate. And so because this was a boys' school, we didn't have actresses and teachers were not allowed to act. So the boys had to play girls' parts. So
Right.
I till I think about class even 9 or something, I played the girl. I somehow was cast as in girls' roles or women's roles, be it Shakespeare or be it whatever, Arthur
How
Miller.
interesting.
But I was very fortunate that to have teachers,
Hmm.
especially English teacher, who taught us dramatics. And
Hmm.
so it wasn't just a school play, it was a house play also. There were 4 houses, so every month there was a house play. And so I was involved in theater from my school, and it was not Alice in Wonderland, or it was not just She Stoops to Conquer, but it was serious theater. Ron Osborne we did, and we did a lot of these British playwrights we did Peter Schaffers, we did Anthony Schaffers. So, and obviously they slightly diluted it uh, because it had
Yes.
adult content,
Yes.
but they made it a little more.
Mm.
They edited it, which later on I understood. But I did serious theater. I mean, I when I came to Calcutta, I was already, I, I was not afraid to go up on stage.
How did film happen then? You were in Mrinal Sen's film, and it
It's
did
when
fabulous.
when when I came to Calcutta, um I wanted to be an actor. I was convinced that I would be an actor, and music was like a hobby. I used to play the guitar and sing English songs. And I was convinced I wanted to be an actor, and my father didn't want me to be because he was a lawyer and we had a legal firm at that point of time.
Mm.
So I didn't want to do that, and there was lot of tension in the house because of that. And I decidedly, because I grew up in an independent way, the family made me go to a place where I had my own opinion and I was not.
Yes.
So I was already independent. So I had my views and I stuck onto it. And I said, no, I want to act and I want to go to NSD. I was not allowed. I wanted to go to Film Institute. I was not allowed. Then I found out that there was one man who I started studying literature because I had to pass my uh, I had to do my graduation, and then I did my MA, but that was all in English. That's just because English was easy, and I could,
Yes.
I think I could, so I just joined English because of that, not for academic reasons. And I found out that there was an actors trainer living in Calcutta at that point of time who also taught in the institute, Film Institute, and he was Badal. So I went
Oh,
to
okay.
so at a very early age, when I think I was in my first year in college, I went to Badal Sarkar and I said that you know, I want to be trained under you. And he took a lot of money for that. At that point of time, it was 15,000. And so for a year, and it was very difficult for me, but somehow I managed and I begged my mother and she paid 5,000. I gave it to him, and then
The
later on I
soft-hearted mother came to the rescue.
So yeah, because 5,000 in 1972 is a lot of money. If you think
Yes,
about
of
it.
course.
And he trained me every 4 days a week. And whatever he taught me at that point of time, as an actor, as his teachings had more to do with the city, with identifying, finding your roots, finding out
Mm.
who you are as a person, what are your strong abilities, what are your disabilities, and and the exercises I went through for a year actually taught me everything. Actually, I found out that I could do music. I found out that I could
Mm.
act, and I wanted to act, and I knew that finally theater wouldn't get anywhere. So I wanted to act in films, and he knew that I wanted to act in films. So anyway, I was trained, and then I was told, I realized that I did a little bit of English theater. Then I not myself. I didn't direct myself. I used to act here and there. In, then there was a lot of English theater happening, or quite a few English theater happening
Mm.
in Calcutta at that point of time. So I did English theater. But I found out, and Balu Sarkar also told me that if I had to do acting, then I had to learn my language and Bangla. It had to be Bangla, otherwise, there was no future.
And was your
And
Bangla quite anglicized then
yeah,
from
yeah, I somehow barely managed to pass my
Bangla?
Bengali school. Senior Cambridge, so class 11, barely managed to pass. But so at a later age, which means I started reading properly. Of course, I could read, but I started reading serious Bengali literature at the age of 18, 19, not before that.
But that's a gift that you at least had the opportunity to, and you were pushed in the right way that you actually did it.
And I started reading Bengali because I wanted to act in Bengali. I
Yes.
didn't want to write anything or do anything in Bengali. I just wanted to
Act.
The act. I had to know my city. I got to know my city and whatever the city had to offer, the multicultural, cosmopolitan Calcutta, which I didn't
How
like at that point.
wonderful.
But I got to know it because I wanted to act. And they taught me, they told me you have to know your city. So I got to know my city, I got to know my roots, I got to learn Bangla, all because I wanted to act. And
How
not
wonderful.
for other reasons. I wouldn't have been interested. If I was told that, look, if you want to act, you have to go to Delhi, so I would have gone to Delhi. So, but
Yes, yes.
yeah, but they told me if you have to act, you have to know Bangla, you have to know the city, you have to know the place, you have to know people, you have to know the multicultural Bengali, you have to know its history, you have to know the Renaissance, Bengali Renaissance. And so I got to know about it. And I had to know about it because I wanted to act. And I took them seriously. And that kind of whatever I have become was has been the main fulcrum of whatever I am today. So today, and when I started doing theater, I started doing theater because I couldn't identify with most of the groups at that point of time because of the way I I grew up, which means that I grew up in late 60s, early 70s, which is the 68 student movement happening. So I was exposed to a lot of
Political.
literature and that literature was existentialist literature. I grew up in rock and roll. I grew up with the hippies. I was an outsider. I was a drifter in Calcutta. So I identified with the rock and roll movement. I identified with the hippie movement. I identified with it was what was happening uh, in America regarding the Vietnam War. I got to listen to a lot of rock and roll and my colonial heritage of Calcutta also influenced me. And so I kind of couldn't identify with the violence of the Naxalite movement, but I could understand why that movement was necessary. So I read Karl Marx, but I did not 100% believed in him. I believed in the individual. So
Hmm.
normally I was inclined to existentialist literature, to
Hmm.
Kafka, Sartre,
Yeah.
and then later on Brecht. So I decided to do my own theater because I had to do theater. They said you have to do theater, otherwise people won't know you and they won't cast you in their films.
Hmm.
I had to do theater. So I started doing theater with my friends and like-minded people.
Did you set up a theater company or it was just
Yeah,
like
we set up a
you
group. We
set up a
set up a
theater?
group while we were doing uh just after graduation, we started doing that, because I was 19 then, 19, 20 or something like 20. And I realized I had to work because I needed money. So I, Desmond Doig, who was then the editor of Junior Statesman, got to know about me through my Darjeeling connection. And Desmond said that you join the Statesman as a writer. You write. I think you can write. So got a job in the Statesman, and that's how I survived. And they also kind of said that, okay, since you're just writing features and not doing political reporting, you continue doing your theater. So I kept doing my theater and working till a point came when I started getting money from the Alliance Française, because when I was doing French theater in Bangla, or I started getting money from the Max Muller of the Goethe Institute, which is Max Muller Bhavan in Kolkata, when I was doing German theater in Bengali, Bertolt Brecht, and I got finances from them. And that's the way I was surviving. And I wanted to leave and go to Berlin and do serious theater, because then I was seriously in love with theater.
And you did
And
go to Berlin, didn't you?
yeah, yeah. And then the opportunity came, and we were planning for a 3 years job in a theater company in Berlin, West Berlin at that point of time. And by then, Mrinal Sen and Buddhadeb Dasgupta both had seen my theater, and both felt that I had potential, and both cast me at the same time. But Mrinal Sen's film happened first, and
Hmm.
Buddhadeb's film happened
Yeah.
second. But I got cast in his film, and at that point of time, I was not I didn't really know Mrinal Sen's films very much, or I wasn't interested watching Bengali films a lot, or Buddhadeb at all. And Buddhadeb had just made two films, I think, by then. And I, so I was like, okay, okay, so I'll do it kind of thing. And I was not afraid of acting because I was trained. But while working with Mrinal Sen, I slowly started understanding much more than what I
Yeah.
did,
Mm.
more my city, and that and what it meant, and how important Kolkata was to me. And I didn't want to go to Berlin because by the time I had worked in two films and then I had to fly, and so I didn't want to. But since there was so much effort already made, so I
You
quickly finished my third film with Mrinal Sen, and I left unwillingly to
How
Berlin.
interesting.
And there I saw a lot of theater, and I realized that kind of theater is not possible for me to do as a professional back home. So
Why
I,
is that?
because theater, it was far more expensive, it was far more elaborate, it was far
Hmm.
more dynamic than what I was doing or rest of the people were doing here. So
Hmm.
I, I felt that if I cannot achieve that, then it's no point in me trying to pursue that. So I just kept seeing theaters, watching theater, and then I decided that I also liked working in film as an actor. By then I had three experiences. I did Chalachitro, I did Ghihojudddha, and I did Kharij, and I quite liked that. And I had been to Venice with Chalachitro, and I'd won an award for that as an actor.
Yes, you did. In Venice.
Hmm.
Did
And
you go?
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
you
I
did.
went, I went there and I got an award. I came back, and then before I came, I was into Kharij. I said, you can play, you should play that. I said, how am I going to play? 35-year-old man, I'm just 27, 20. So he said, no, no, you can do it. You have to do it, grow a mustache. So I was literally forced into doing it, and they dubbed me quickly and they left. And then, of course, in sitting in Berlin, I got to know that Kharij won the Special Jury Award in Cannes, and I couldn't go over there because I was in dire straits, and it was very difficult. It was struggling a lot, theater. And then I took a break. I took a
Hmm.
break and went to. I realized that cinema is happening in Munich, not in Berlin. So
Hmm.
they asked me, where do you want to take a break after my first year? So I said, I'll go to Munich. And I went to Munich and I met directors who were close to Mrinal Sen. They knew Buddhadeb and they knew Mrinal Sen very well. So I just went to them and they said, hi, hello, what are you doing here? And they welcomed me into it, Reinhard Hauf and Margarita von Strotter and Rudolph and all these people, they welcomed me, and you hang around in the studios. And it is in their houses and their DVD collections that I actually got to see cinema, really cinema. And the world opened up to me. I saw Mrinal Sen really well. I saw Shotruit, I saw Tikhoto, I saw Godar, I saw everything. And I realized that this is something which probably I can do with a little budget. I can try and do that. And so my decision to become a filmmaker happened then. And
Hmm.
I finished my job, and I got a letter from Reinhard Hauf for two Mrinal Sen saying that take this guy under you as an assistant. He's your actor. He's wanting to become a filmmaker. So I came back to Calcutta and I went, gave him the letter. He said, you went to Germany all the way to get this letter. So, so I said, no, 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 no. I want to learn. So then he took me on as assistant, and I kept assisting acting further
Then
on.
you learned more
And
than just as an
more
actor.
the craft, more the craft. And I was hell-bent in making films, but I couldn't adjust to the mainstream Bengali cinema at that point of time. 1980s, 90s was not, 80s especially,
Hmm.
was not the kind of mainstream Bengali cinema which was happening. Was I couldn't enjoy. I only enjoyed working with Gautam Ghosh, Aparna Sen, Mrinal Sen, and these people who cast me. I enjoyed working, but that was like one film in a year, which was
Hmm.
like 10 to 15,000 or 20,000 bucks. They were like They were small films.
Yeah.
So
Mr. and Mrs. Iyer you did, right?
much later. That is much
Yeah.
later. That is
The
after I
top
became
one.
a that is after I became being a
Okay.
director. But I'm saying before that,
Early days.
Juganto was happening. So when I was just an actor, so I was being paid what 25,000 because the film is like what is like 30 lakhs or something, 35 lakhs. So I had to survive. I left my job. I had to survive. So I just thought that wow, Shumon had come that at that point of time and was singing a song with the guitar. I knew my city so well, so I said, why don't I also write some songs about my city? And I had written a few mainly for the theater, and
Had
I
you
started.
had you finished with your advertising stint by then, or it was still to come?
No, it was happening. I
That was
had
also happening.
yeah I was started working in 80. That is finished. That is after I came back from Germany. I needed a job. I joined advertising, 84, 85, 86, 3 years of advertising, and like one film with Nabindu or Avarna again back into advertising. Like that, it was happening, and uh, so I was writing and I was singing songs in parties, and they said, "Wow, this is good, man. There's nice songs. Ori Bodo is a nice song, and Bela Bose is a nice song." And I sing in parties. So I play my guitar and sing. And then I thought of singing in public.
Hmm.
And there was a show organized by myself and a small audience, like 30, 40 odd people in Calcutta came and heard it, and they said, "Wow, it's pretty good." And my son Neil was like what he was just about 12 years old or something. He was playing the guitar with me, two of us. And then we immediately got a show in Jadavpur University where they gave me
Ah,
5,000 rupees to sing. So I went there and sang, and those songs became popular. So the entire 1993, I was singing for a living, be it in Bardhaman, be it in Delhi, be it in Jadavpur or Presidency, or be it in JNU. I was singing all over the place. I hadn't recorded by then, but
when
I
did
was
the trajectory go up with your music? When did it suddenly explode where
93 when I started singing, and then there was money, and I was charging like 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 per show, and it was giving me a lot of money, and I realized, wow, this is like great. I don't have to do bad cinema, a bad. I don't have to act in
you
bad
can do your
cinema.
songs?
I can do my songs, still I get a producer. And I was doing it, and my directors also liked it, and I was quite popular. Only in 1994, the gramophone company came and said, "We want to record you." By the
Ah,
time one Nochiketa had happened,
hmm.
and I was the third. And then the cassette came out in 94, and it was a huge hit, everybody. But before that, what I wanted to tell you is before that, in 93, I almost did a whole lot of shows all over the place where people took me, young people, college students, clubs. They
Hmm.
took me to sing with the guitar, where they requested, like they wanted me to sing the telephone song, or they wanted me to sing the saxophonist song. They didn't
Hmm.
know it as Samson, or they wanted me to sing that little boy behind New Market, that song. They didn't say Ali Baba, or they didn't say Bela
Yeah, yeah.
Bose. They said, sing that Anglo-Indian girls song. That is,
Marianne.
yeah, they didn't know it like that.
I
So,
love Marianne. Such a lovely
so
song.
I started singing about my city, my environment, earning a lot of money. And when the cassette came out, I mean, started charging much more, and I became much more popular. And then
Popular.
shows didn't happen. There was a dearth of shows. And when my first album became a gold disc, the second album, when they wanted me to make, they said, you have to do the second album. The second album became a gold disc. And when it came for the third album, I said, hello, I'm not going to do it. Unless you produce a film, you have to
Ah,
give money to make a film. Then I will give you an album. Otherwise, I'm not going to give you an album. I'll give it to somebody else. I'll give it to Sony.
clever.
They
Did they?
immediately, how much is going to cost? So I said 50 lakhs. And they said 50 lakhs, English film, this, that. And they said, okay, chalo, let's make it. And they had opened up film company at that point in time called Gramco Films. And I tried. It was a disaster. It was neither English nor Hindi. It was Buddhadeb. And it
Buddhadeb.
yeah, and it was a Hindi film. And I wanted to make a Hindi film from Calcutta. And it was neither, it was serious, but the songs were not good enough. Or I don't know. They recovered a lot of money from the songs. They recovered a lot of money from the songs. But the film was neither here nor there. People who wanted to see a mainstream film, because there was fights, there was chase, there was whatever it is. I believe in popular cinema. They went and saw a strange film where, about Anglo-Indians and God knows what is happening. Who's Mark Robinson? And people who went to see it as a parallel film, okay, Shabana is there, Irfan Khan, let's go and see this film. They saw, oh God, what is this, cabaret, this, that. They didn't like it. So it was neither here nor there. It was a disaster. So I told myself, I'm not going to make a film till I can do it my way. And I kept singing for 8 years till a person came and said, I want you to do an English film. And I said, okay. And I did Bow Barracks. And that worked in 2003. And that worked, and then Bong Connection or whatever followed.
Yes.
And then it started working because my listening audience became my viewing audience. People to my albums actually went to see Bong Connection. People who had listened to my albums went to see Madly Magali. So the kind of music and my kind of cinema is little similar, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, of course. But did you I mean, it's a very weird question to ask. Did you expect to get this famous with your music? And
No. You're absolutely right, Nandini. I never expected that I'll.
I mean, it was just.
I never expected that people like these songs because
Yeah.
these are very personal songs, and these are. I understand why. I have looked back and I understand why they like it, because I never expected it. I thought I'll be like one balladeer who will just be there, and it's like hobby. It's like we have some.
But your songs are like normal middle class life situations. They're so relatable, and yet in a different sort of a idiom, right? Different from what people were used to.
What I was able to do, and I did it very naturally, is there is an anglicized Bengali in the history and legacy of being Bengali. Bangaliana also is comprised, it comprises an Anglo in it, in the sense that there is a colonial heritage to the Bengali. The Bengali, the language is as evolved as English. It is not as archaic as any other language. It is evolved. It is taken in English words, it is taken in Farsi words, it is taken in Persian words and Urdu words and this and that.
There is an acceptance also. There is an acceptance of that.
So there is an anglicized Bengali in the Bengali. Whether Bengalis refuse to accept it or not, Niroj C. Chaudhuri is as important to the Bengali as Robin.
Correct.
There is that anglicized Bengali that was waiting, that had no identification.
Had not found expression also in the way you brought it.
36 Chowrangi Lane in a small way did that. But apart from 36 Chowrangi Lane, nothing much had been explored in that area. So I bought in that with my music. I could naturally bought in a Christian, a Muslim, a Bihari. Naturally, that milieu, the cosmopolitan world of the Bengalis, came very naturally to me, and I expressed that. So it was not just the Hindu Bengali,
Yes.
It was also. So that
it's the idea of at least urban Kolkata that we have grown up with, which has got all of that.
There was a generation growing up in the 90s that was a little fed up with the traditional Bangaliana. They wanted to, with the traditional Bangaliana, in the sense that Bengalis wear dhotis and they are lazy and they have rosogollas and they have mishti doi. That's
And then only
totally.
high literature, and only,
They wear jeans and they're casual and they want to they are fashionable, whatever. Though they are global, people wanted to
yes.
study, then leave for Bangalore. People wanted to go abroad. They wanted to study abroad. So that repressed joy of wanting to express yourself, I think, got expressed through my songs,
How
and that
wonderful.
that is that
Right,
people like. I
right
think.
time, right place, and the right man for it.
Yeah, and they were deprived of it, I think, because some nobody before has written something like Marianne, or nobody before has written something like Guy on the Telephone Booth or something.
Yeah.
But
Even
they have
cigarette. Even
they have
cigarette.
been exposed to pop music. They've been exposed to so many things. They've been exposed to Western food and Western culture and English cinema. So that the generation of the 90s who were urban 90s young people needed an expression, and I think my music gave that. So
Yes.
people who right now, when things are becoming a little more regressive, and I think this actually sums up what I wanted to say in this interview of yours. When the world is becoming regressive and when Indian society is becoming regressive because of many things, it should have moved, it should have evolved. It became global so many years ago. At this point of time, my work, cinema is also becoming regressive. The kind of work that I'm doing does not find an audience where I live, which it did in early 2000. It
Isn't
ran,
this the strangest thing? Isn't this the
but,
strangest phenomena?
but all around the year, still my major source of earning is coming from music and not from cinema. Cinema, I can be very honest, my charges are, I still make low budget in the sense my cinema at the most is a crore and crore 20 or maybe 1.5 crores, because I still believe in making that kind of cinema, which also is not finding the same amount of audience as Bong Connection did. It ran
Hmm.
for weeks. It ran for 8 weeks and we recovered more. Or say Ranjana Ami Ar Ashbona, we spent 90, we got one crore 40 from the market.
Hmm.
But that was in 2010. And then I did Bomkesh, which of course got much
Yes.
more. Today, I don't find that audience, which means my films at the most is running for 2 weeks and then being sold to an OTT. My music concerts, except for Presidency, Jadavpur, maybe Kalamandir, or a show here
Hmm.
and there, most of my music, I'm still earning through music and a lot of money, not, I mean, a lot of money in the sense that I live in a, I still live in the same house. My demands are not like, I just need a car, whatever car, I just need a car. But it doesn't have to be this make, that make. Now, that those shows are actually not happening in Bengal. So most of my shows are either happening in Bangalore or in Delhi or in New York or in Norway. Every year I have to travel my team.
Or in Australia?
Yes. So which means the audience
Has
which
moved.
left or migrated elsewhere, who grew up in the 90s, most of it left because they were pissed off with this whole situation there. So, like I was pissed off with my own thing because they couldn't function, they needed a better openings, but whatever they left, but they have love for their roots, they remember their city, but they want to grow, they want to go, and they want to leave because opportunities are
Yes.
not so
But
high
these,
here. And they are the guys or people who want to see my films and they can see it on Amazon or which.
can I ask you something? Since you've touched upon this, that why are people getting more regressive? And the biggest shock for me, at least, is to see Bengalis who've been known as being progressive, right? Who were like what Bengal does today, the rest of it, all of those things. Today I see so much, sorry to say, like extremism and small-mindedness and all of this. Maybe you
More
can't
than
generalize,
extremism, more
but
than
it's
extremism,
happening.
more than extremism, it's a sort of a social regression. It's they I mean, people, Bengali should have gone ahead, but the fact that they lost their connection with the world for various political, social reasons, they lost their connection with the world, which they had in the 60s and 70s in terms of fashion, politics, literature, cinema,
Art, cinema, yes.
art, any profession, journalism, advertising. They lost their connection, and English was not I think in the 90s it was not an important. It was taken off many syllabuses. It was not a mandatory. So they lost their cosmopolitan international
Feel.
aspect,
Hmm.
and they became the Bangaliana. They celebrate. Is now the old-fashioned Babu Bengaliness, where women
Oh, inward looking rather than,
where women are still repressed, where men, it's still a chauvinist society, where if a woman smokes, then wow, what is wrong? There's a lot of,
hmm.
it's very strange that having gone through Renaissance, having gone through so much,
Why
that
are we back there?
essentially because of the local politics and because local politics, yes.
But haven't
So,
Bengalis are known to be free thinkers?
yeah,
Free thinkers,
uh,
influenced by world,
world, yes, yes.
philosophies and happenings. And so it's quite, it does. But anyway, it's good to know that there are
And
still
what I'm
some,
trying to say is, as far as I'm concerned, I actually appeal to people who are Bengalis, but living in New York, Bangladeshis living in New York. I appeal to them for
yes,
certain reasons. Why? So why am I not getting that same audience in Bhawanipur? I'm not getting it, but probably I'm getting it in Boston. It's
yes,
because they also want to grow and they've left and they still believe that they're Bengalis, but they believe that yes, I can be a Bengali, but I can live in Brisbane. You know,
yes, yes.
not an issue with me. So that is my audience. And this is the first time I'm coming there. I've been to Australia before COVID, but this is the first time I'm coming to Brisbane. I've never been to Brisbane. It's a beautiful city, I know. But because we don't get a holiday. But this time we made it a point that we stay 2 days and then do the show because
Lovely.
our shows are on weekdays. So I have 2 days to hang around there and go to the Gold Coast or whatever.
Amazing,
And
amazing. I'm
yeah,
sure you'll enjoy it.
and I'm looking forward to this city because this city has an interesting section of Bengalis who are small maybe than Sydney, smaller, but are interesting. I mean, the
Yes,
little that I've interacted with people who are organizing the show, I find them pretty interesting and nice. And so I think that it would be a very interesting experience for them and for me for the first time.
we're certainly
For
looking forward to it. I want to ask you a little bit though about, you grew up in nature, in places with the mountains and nature and all of that. And I did read somewhere where you said that that connection to nature is still very strong in you. Like you've never written a script sitting in your house. You go off somewhere, you go to like some place where you can be by yourself, where you can have that connection to nature. Um, do you still find that quite a strong thread in in the way you sort of think about your creativity and the way that you're thinking about, art?
Nandini, very honestly, of course, nature is and still is important, not to me, to any artist, but to me, it has always been people, people as part of nature.
Mm,
I mean, of course, I go to Darjeeling or I go to Shantiniketan or I go to, let's say, the beach
mm.
and just write the script because I don't want to be disturbed and I don't carry my cell phone with me. So that's a different thing. That's a discipline which I'm putting myself because if I'm in my house, invariably, no matter how old and big it is, there will be disturbances. But I think people
Mm.
are very important. Without people, there is no nature. So I somehow, you'll find in my films, in my music, you won't find a lot of spiritual connection with the nature, but more spiritual connection with people. So
Interesting.
people are important to me. People are important to me. And I think that roots is also about people. And people are very, I think as I grow older, it has become more and more important to me. And be it they're aggressive or be it they're hypocrites or be it whatever they are, it's
They interest you.
still people. Yeah, they're still people. And I'm appalled at the violence which they can do. But still I I can see a lot of goodness still in
Spoken like
people.
a true humanist.
Yeah. And I know that this world will not be a better place and this planet has been damaged. And I know that it's been damaged. Ozone layers have cracked. But that's it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be a nihilist. My
Mm.
main strength, I think, is as I grow old, I cannot be ashamed that I don't have any hair. Or I cannot be ashamed that I have lines underneath my eyes. I have to accept it and show it. And it's up to me to outgrow that and
Mm.
show beauty and show the beauty, which is
Mm. Mm.
inside people. The exterior is is important up to a certain point. So I the one thing that I don't want to fall into the trap of is nihilism, is to say everything is lost. And
Mm.
yes, I know that I am appalled at the regressiveness of Bengalis. I am extremely appalled at that old-fashioned, why they have become so old-fashioned. And what is wrong with a mother and father who are living in America, desperately wanting their children to be a big baby, talk like them? It is not possible. They will have an accent, they will have a Bengali accent. And people have said, my sons don't. I said, hello, let them live the way they
Mm.
essentially they will finally find their roots. I tell them to read Jhupalai, that please read it, how Gogol finds the roots. So they will essentially, so don't force it down their throats.
Let
Don't
them
just,
be.
they will find their roots. They will. It doesn't mean that they will ask, Acha, Baba, who was my grandfather? They don't ask that, neither did I. But I found out, and they will find. So that that is something so I don't want to be nihilistic. I don't want to say that everything is over, things are bad. That's sad. So in the process, I have to accept the mistakes that I've made, the bad songs that I've written, the not so good films that happened. I have to accept my failures, flaws, the way I have to accept the fact that I'm bald. So I can wear a cap and cover it up, which I usually do, and I can wear my dark glasses and it will look a little better. But I decide, and now I'm decided, I'm like this. So, oh,
And we
so
are like this only.
yeah, we are like this only. That's very Punjabi way of saying it, but still that's a way of
Yes.
speaking, and so that's my way of
Oh, I hear
speaking.
you.
I
I
know I'm
hear you.
smoking and talking to you, and there will be a lot of people saying, what is Anjan Dutt doing? He's having an interview and he's smoking a cigarette and talking." See, I'm not encouraging smoking. I'm not
To
doing
being
that.
yourself. This is the beauty that I loved in Kolkata, that it allowed you to be yourself.
Hmm,
It
hmm.
allowed you to be yourself. You could
Yeah,
be
that
anything
is
you
that is
wanted.
why I fell in love with Kolkata. That is why I wrote Bela Bose. That is
Yes.
why I wrote Mrinal. That is why I wrote Alibaba. And that is why I wrote Samson. Is because I fell in love with it. It allowed me to be myself. I think Kolkata and people are still not allowing the a lot of the cosmopolitan people have left. A lot of
I
people have
know. Yes.
yeah, a lot of people have left. The urban uh, have become semi-urban. I don't know, but uh, it still allows. At Kolkata still allows you to be yourself. Be yourself.
I
It
still
still.
love it and I will always love it. And my mother lives there, so there will always be that connection with Kolkata. We've had such a great conversation about so many different aspects of your journey. And one
Thank you.
question I want to ask you is, because you've worked in film and music and directing and all of this, a lot of people say that like that artistic impulse is that, you keep trying to answer the same questions through different ways. You try it through a song, you try it through a film, you do you have any recurring, like annoying or pleasant questions that you keep coming back to or that kind of inform your work?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I mean, that is why I'm trying out various things. Is not because I have to say different things. It's almost the same thing. It's trying to find out, try to say, or try to look at the good side of the bad.
Hmm.
It's trying to say that despite everything, it was nice to be young. I've lost the sense of the loss of youth, or finding Emily finding its roots, or it's a song, maybe a telephone number song. I'm trying to look at the sadness of life, and I'm trying to find out that little joy despite the sadness.
Hmm.
A film, through a song, through a theater, through a writing, through whatever I'm doing. And I'm trying to do various things, but deep within it's trying to find that spark which is getting lost, and the world is getting darker and darker and darker. But I'm still trying to find that little goodness in people, and in people or in nature, as you rightly said, maybe in nature.
Interchangeable.
Yeah, and that is what drives me. It is not anger; it is anguish at life, or so. But you will find there is a very uh, subtle sense of sadness in whatever I write, whatever my songs or my films are about. They are failed people. They're about fragmented lives. They are not happy people dancing around, or they are not very bad people,
Hmm.
carnivorous things. So I can't make a dark film. Neither I can make a happy man story. I can't do that. So it's that unique thing about human beings is, despite everything, there may be. I don't know the answer. I don't know that this is this is the way to happiness. But I can see, or I'd like to see that person trying to be happy despite whatever disaster he or she is going through.
I love it.
It can be said in a marriage story. It can be
Hmm.
said in a thriller. It can be said in a relationship story. It can be said through many ways. It can be said through a song. It can be said through so many things. That is why my songs are also about a city which has changed. But if you look, if people look back into my songs, they will find name of a street, or name of a house, or name of a restaurant, which is no longer there. But it's like history which I've kept it in my songs. So
You're a
this
chronicler of our times.
okay, so this road was Dr. Lane. Oh, and this, oh, there was STD booths everywhere. Okay. Like this, oh, there was a saxophone player whose name was this Gomes and who played on Park Street. Okay. So it's like a chronicle which is there. So maybe it's the colors which have changed and everything. So, and I got it actually from pop music, because pop
Hmm.
music is also about Brooklyn roads and whatever,
Yes,
New York
yes,
Times.
yes.
It's also about that. It's so the urban, the Calcutta, which is gone, probably is there in book, like in books of Shankar, Chorungi or whatever. It it's there in my songs.
It
That so this
absolutely is.
yeah.
Absolutely is. And this is the love affair that never dies.
Mm.
So even as we are getting older, we are still young listening to Bela Bose, and we are still back in those times, when you first encounter something that moves you or stays with you, you carry it through your life. And, I live in Brisbane. So many Bengalis have gone to so many different parts of the world. And you very rightly said that they have carried your songs with them. They have
And
carried your music with them.
carried it through, along with so many other things they've carried it with. They've carried it with
Yes.
their memories, they've carried it with their maybe old scarf, or maybe the photo of their young sister. They've carried it with so many things. and maybe some things have got lost. Some of my songs have got lost. Some of it has been there, and that is good enough for me. That's good enough for me that they still value it in a small way, and that is
I
what life
think
is.
it's quite the most incredible thing for me is that it's almost like it's just happened and this was your destiny and you didn't plan it in a
No,
meticulous, calculated way. You followed your heart
yeah.
and you got a lot of love along the way and you got supporters and you got people who believed in you in the right time, right place. And you've made such a beautiful life for yourself.
And nobody has said no. I mean, what I like that people don't eulogize me, which is I'm not that I don't eulogize Chalachitro or Mrinal. Of course, Mrinal is a great filmmaker, but he's also a friend. Buddhadeb was nice, but I used to have a drink with him and we used to have fun and so many other things. So and it's great that I have an audience that does not eulogize me, that does not say, but at the
There's a
same time,
sense of
there
aponna.
is love. There is
Aponna.
genuine love and sincerity. It's like faded pictures. It's like
You
faded
belong
pictures.
to us. It's like that.
Yeah.
You belong
Yeah.
to us. Your songs belong to us.
Yeah. It's like an album I carry along and they carry along. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's really
But,
good. Yeah.
thank you so much. This has been
I
absolutely
thoroughly enjoyed
wonderful.
it. I thought it'd be one hell of a serious discussion, but we did discuss a lot serious things, but in a
Adda.
funny way. Yeah.
Adda.
And
I
at
look
least
forward to seeing you
I
when
can
you
bring
come.
that fun and that along with a little bit of sadness to the program. I think if people don't have tears in their eyes after in the end of any experience, it is not a good experience. You need tears in that. That small little glint in your eyes, if you have it, then it's nice. If you're just laughing through, then you're not touched. I think maybe I'll make that if
You
I
will
can have.
absolutely touch hearts, and I don't know if they'll let you go back, but we'll see. Thank you so much.